This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Young Jarek would love to take my order.
Hi.
He works at the coffee shop just up the street.
Morning.
He's happy and annoying with a smirk the size of Texas. He's my coffee enemy.
Would you like a mochaccino? Or perhaps a cappuccino? Or maybe a frappuccino?
Said Derek wearing the chinos. All I really want is a cup of coffee. So strong the spoon stands up, just a cup of coffee. All I really want is a cup of coffee. Give me a friggin' cup of coffee, Derek.
Yeah.
Hi, Corey. This is James and Mike calling After Hours from 102.3.
Hey, we have something to ask you here. We're going to give you some inspirational music, and if you can for 20 seconds talk about a random topic, you will win 3 tickets to Celine Dion in Vegas in February. Are you ready?
How'd you get my number?
Well, that's not important. Here's your topic.
It is my number. It is important. How'd
Abraham,
you get my number?
here we go. You got 20 seconds to talk.
I don't give a
inspirational
shit.
speech.
I don't give a shit. How'd you get my number?
You got 18 seconds.
Dude, how the fuck did you get my number? That's what I want to know.
I'll start it out for you. Abraham Lincoln was a great president. He
Yeah, it was
ended
a fuck him. I don't care.
Springfield, Illinois. Unfortunately, he was killed at the theater.
Good.
If you can name who killed him, you will win 2 tickets
John
to
Wilkes
Celine Dion in Vegas. Oh, well, we didn't plan on him.
All right, thank you, Chris. We'll have those
His
tickets.
name's Corey.
All right, Corey, we'll have those tickets mailed to you right away.
How did you get my name and number?
Hi, hello, Coffee Nation. Welcome to episode 4 of the Coffee with Friends podcast. I'm your host, Carl Coffee. With me is first-time guest Tim Anderson. How are you, Tim?
Pretty good. How are you doing, Hot Coffee?
All right, listen, this is episode 4. We're going to call this episode Michigan State, Even Stevens. Now, Tim, it's called that because I was going to have my friend Stephen Harris on. He was on for episode 1. So there's a little play on words there. But
I thought you were just a big fan of Shia LaBeouf's earlier work on Disney Channel.
I was a Beans guy, but listen, we'll see why it's called Even Stevens later. Tim, Coffee with Friends podcast is a member of the Overtime Sports Network. You can check that out at otsportsnetwork.com or on Twitter @_OTSN. And Tim, we just got picked up by the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
What?
Will be released every Friday at 1 p.m. They have 40,000 Twitter followers. This is big. They have a website, Tim, DetroitSportsPodcast.com, and Twitter @DetroitPodcast. So, 2 networks, Tim. Pretty cool, right?
You are blowing up, Ken, sir.
Episode 4, and we're on 2 networks. What is that? Nonsense? Tim, do you know that it's a sports equinox day? Do you have any idea
I do.
what that means?
That means that the planets have aligned, and all 4 of the major sports schedules are still on regular season. Regular seasons are still going.
That's very rare. Very rare. The NBA used to start even later in October, so it used to be almost impossible.
You know what my favorite days ever were?
What's that?
In August, when you could go to a Tigers game and 1 o'clock on a Sunday, and you could go over to Ford Field and hit the Lions preseason game.
Yep, I would park at the Greektown Casino, get validated, lose all the money in my wallet. Usually wasn't much, and still go home happy. Good time.
No, for you, that was like a 5-minute drive. For me, that was like an hour and a half.
Yes. All right. So, Tim, this podcast is broken up into 4 segments.
4 segments.
As always, we have an 8 to 1. And it's a different one. We're going to go with states that start with the letter N. I mean, what? Really? I bet you can't. I have a perfect score on that. A 60-second challenge. You'll be calling Arby's. And then our main... of
Arby's.
course, our main topic. Because, Tim, this is a sports podcast, right? So listen.
This is that's I knew.
Yeah, I mean, and we're the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. So let's start talking Michigan sports, right? And Michigan State weekend's a big deal. So Tim, I've had some trouble with the 8-1. I don't always time it right, so we're gonna knock out a matchup right now. Okay.
All right.
There's 8 states in the United States that start with N.
Okay.
In this first matchup, and just to let you know, I can veto any matchup before the championship. Just to let you know. I've used my veto every time. So the first matchup is North Carolina. Beautiful North Carolina with their Outer Banks and their smoky, the Smoky Mountains. Dude, just a lovely state. Versus New Jersey, which had the television show Jersey Shore took place there. So who do you got?
I have New Jersey. Bayhead always beats Outer Banks. Oh my, Muller's Bakery over Duck Donuts. Oh man, like what does North Carolina have? College baseball, the minor league system might be better there. That's about it though.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely New Jersey.
I'm using my veto. I'm picking North Carolina because Jersey should not win. Are you just messing with me?
No, I'm actually laying on top of my New Jersey Devils jersey.
Okay. Well, North Carolina moves on. All right. So, Tim, I don't know if you saw this, but I recently went viral on Reddit. Did you see that?
I did not.
So there is a subreddit called Blunder Years, where you show old pictures. And I found this old picture. Our good friend Brandon Corbett was in it. There was 5 of us. We're performing Together's Calculus. U plus V equals us. Remember that song?
I know my calculus.
We were at a church camp in 2001, and it just blew up right away. Most people.
That just sounds like the worst thing possible.
Well, people said like the title was so cringy because every next word was more cringy than the next. I wrote, my fake boy band performing Together's Calculus at a church camp in 2001. Dude, one guy wrote, this is the worst thing that ever happened in 2001.
Man, I can't think of anything else that happened on 8/36 on September the 11th.
So listen.
Yeah, no.
Listen, Tim. I've been posting on Reddit for 5 years.
Uh-huh.
This thing got 6,700 upvotes. On the site, IMGUR, I don't know how to pronounce it, Imgur.
Imgur? Yeah.
It had over 240.
Are you saying that right now you're a meme?
Maybe. 240,000 views on Imgur. So I was like, sweet, finally something. Corbett got a big kick out of it. So that's something, man. Kind of not like super viral, but decently viral, right?
Yeah, people have seen your face.
Oh man. Anyways, all right. So
they're believers.
Are you ready? I can't believe you picked New Jersey. By the way, I should have.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's a joke. So you wiped out my veto, so it's all you now. Anyways,
here's mine.
So I like this segment because I have a perfect score. It's called I Bet You Can't, and I wrote this show sheet for Harris, but like him, you're a Michigan guy, so Tim, I bet you can't tell me you won't be pissed if Dave Dombrowski, the GM of the Red Sox, wins a World Series with Boston.
Carl, I can't. I will be absolutely pissed.
All right, perfect score.
He did the same exact model he did in Detroit that he's doing in Boston, except he left us with nothing in his system, minor league system. And let me tell you, woo-wee.
And that awful Cabrera contract. No, he goes there, he gets Chris Sale, he signs Price and JD, but there's some guys in the system that were, unlike the Tigers, when he took over the Red Sox, there was guys moving up in the system that he didn't draft, Mookie Betts, Jackie Bradley, Bogarts or whatever.
I'm a big fan of that Groom prospect out of South New Jersey. Hell of an arm.
But I was talking to you earlier before we were recording that right now it's Verlander versus David Price and JD Martinez has a home run. Now, come on. How much does that hit home and just piss you off?
It always does.
All right. Let's go to another matchup. New Hampshire versus Nebraska.
I said New Hampshire has more culture than cornfields.
So you're picking New Hampshire just based on that?
Also, Vlad Jr. had a hell of a season for the Fisher Cats.
You know, I can't veto it, and I don't mind it. I like New Hampshire. It's better than Vermont, so good for them.
The Green Mountain State.
Yeah, there you go.
It's like they got that Vermont is that name for a reason or something.
So Tim, you said you've been pretty busy, so you haven't listened to any shows. But my guests are they're challenging each other.
Okay.
And for the first 4 months, there's a winner. It's called the Throne of Awesome. So the person sitting in the Throne of Awesome after 4 months wins a prize.
All right.
Don't know what it's going to be. Maybe I already said, I don't know. It's money or a gift card or something. Just it's just so that you step up your game. And the people usually get in the Throne of Awesome by having a successful 60-second challenge.
60-second challenge.
And we've had people barter on Craigslist, and we've had people call pizza shops. You're going to call Arby's.
I'm going to call Arby's?
You're going to call Arby's, and I wrote a script for you, so it's really easy. You're the first person I wrote a script for. But you can change things around. Basically, I use all their slogans. So you have to use them all. Don't talk too fast. Maybe it's not exactly a 60-second challenge, but I just want you to get through the whole script. But don't, force it, Have them respond. We'll see what happens. This could be a disaster. Who knows? Are you ready?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
You guess.
This really isn't something you prepare for. You're just being thrust in this moment. This moment of greatness.
We're in our mid-30s and we're still doing prank calls. All right, let's call up Arby's.
Yeah, this would have been 20 years ago for me. 17.
Let's see if it's ringing.
Arby's on Midway.
Hi, I'm thinking Arby's.
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to taste the Arby's.
I'm sorry?
I would like to taste the Arby's. Are you slicing up freshness? I need some good mood food. Rumor has it that you have the meats.
Yes. What do you need? What sound you want?
Well, I'm looking for some grown-up tastes. Possibly with some horsey sauce. Is that possible?
Which one?
Tacos?
Which sandwich?
I don't know. What is a sandwich?
Which sandwich you would like?
What's a gyro?
The gyro, it's a pita bread tortilla with lettuce, tomatoes, tzatziki sauce, and your meat. You can get roast beef, you can get turkey, or you can get lamb meat.
And this comes with sauces?
Your 60 seconds are up. You got it.
Yeah!
So stupid. You didn't do the first one. So what are you eating today?
Oh, well, that should be what they're asking me.
I know. Hey, that's all right though. You did good. You got I'm thinking Arby's. You got tasty Arby's difference. You got slicing up freshness. You got good mood food. You got do you have the meats? And you got you got give into my grown up taste. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 7. Pretty good. Yeah. Pretty good successful challenge. And a very patient person answered the phone.
That's a Chris Shelton batting average right there.
In April of 2006.
Yes. That's a fine year that was.
Not bad, Tim. Your ad-libbing is not the best. I mean, after you got all those in, you're just kind of lost there. But hey, she stayed on for 60 seconds. Good job.
She was a mensch.
All right, we got a new versus a New York versus Mexico. Who do you got, New York or New Mexico?
I have to go to New York because all New Mexico has is Roswell. Yeah.
Not a Breaking Bad fan?
Not really. I like chemistry, but I like my chemistry not blowing up the house next to me.
So we got Tim Anderson, my old buddy from Michigan. He grew up on the border of Michigan and Ohio. There's another rivalry that the University of Michigan has, and Some people like it better than the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry, which probably means more to you since you grew up on the border. But Tim...
No, not really. No.
All right, fair enough. So, Tim, I was always a Michigan State rivalry. And growing up, going to elementary school, I was like one of 2 kids during Michigan State week to wear Michigan State gear because everyone's a Michigan fan where I live. They just are.
Well, I mean, you grew up like 15 miles from Ann Arbor, so yeah.
My dad graduated from MSU. They actually put me on the waiting list, and Michigan probably would have just thrown my application in the garbage. So, Michigan State fan right here. And I kind of talked about it in the opening. Even Stevens, because I was supposed to have on Stephen Harris. But why is it called Even Stevens, Tim? It's because we're going to give these teams equal treatment.
I was hoping for some Ren. I was really hoping for some Christy Carlson Romano. Really hoping for some Christy.
So every question I ask you about Michigan, I'm going to do about Michigan State. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
So Tim mentioned, not a bad 60-second challenge there. How did you feel about that?
It was a little awkward.
When was the last time you did a prank call?
Or as our neighbors to the north would say, a little Maldois.
You don't do them a lot?
Well, I used to prank call the KKK all the time while at the Hillel House in Eastern Michigan. I also used to prank call the prayer hotline and ask them to bless my cards at the casino. And that was like 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20. So
Not even. That was like 15. Holy crap.
So I open up every show with a prank call, and those aren't recent. I have a whole SoundCloud of prank calls. So I just grab one from there, and I use it for the opening of the shows.
Yeah, classic.
And then we do the live one. The Arby's one was okay. I thought you did a good job. Anyways, before we dive into the main topic, I'm going to give the last opening round matchup of the end states, and it's Nevada versus North Dakota. Tim, who do you got, and why?
Nevada, because of gambling.
Yeah.
and in Las Vegas.
You know, North Dakota hit an oil rush not too long ago, and their residents all became like super rich.
Unfortunately, I'm Mohawk and not Sioux. Otherwise, I'd be Scrooge McDucking through my vault right now.
Tim, main topic. This is a sports podcast, and we're a part of the Detroit Sports Network. So let's talk Michigan State. And in the last 10 years, Michigan State has owned the rivalry, which is weird to say because our whole lives it has been Michigan.
Oh yeah, that was terrible.
So here's the first question, Tim.
All right.
Because this is my favorite thing. This is the reason why a lot of people root for certain teams. I believe it has to do with the fans. So, what is the worst thing about Michigan fans?
They're pompous bandwagoners that are like lost in traditions.
Not bad. You want to hear what I have?
Yeah, sure. Let's hear.
Okay, it's kind of specific, but it's the Michigan fans. I didn't go to either school. I told you. I was waitlisted on one of them. But it's the Michigan fans who didn't go to any of the schools, a lot of them didn't even go to college, who talk down about Michigan State as a school. You get what I'm saying?
No, I understand.
They went, I'm not saying they're idiots. They just didn't go to college. A lot of them didn't go to college, and they talk down about Michigan State. And Michigan State's a fine school. I understand Michigan's better. But that always just upset me about Michigan fans. And you knew where I grew up, and that area was just littered with, we'll call them Walmart Wolverine fans.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
But, Tim, this is an Even Stevens show. So we're going to talk about Michigan State fans because they're just as bad in some aspects. So what's the worst thing about Michigan State fans, Tim?
They're looking for any reason to set a couch on fire. and they're keeping IKEA in business.
That's the students. What about the fans? Anything?
Yeah, actually, I prefer them to Michigan's fans.
Well, I wasn't asking that. So that's all you have?
Yeah.
That's weak, man. Listen, I think they're bad winners. I do. On social network, they're just bad winners. They take it too far. Like, over this 10-year span, I think they could have handled it a lot different and they would have come across way better. That's just my circle. That's just who I follow. a lot of times I'm like, why did you say that? You know, you got outplayed. You probably didn't deserve to win this game. Just shut up and be happy you got the W. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does.
All right. Remember, this is an even Stevens thing, so don't try to pick a side, okay?
All right.
All right, for this question, we'll go Michigan State first. So, greatest moment in recent history, the last 10 years for Michigan State football.
The fumble in 2015.
I thought you were going to say that. Because, you know, that's one moment. So I kind of cheated. I had 2 moments, but they happened in the same season. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
So the 2013 season, fun season, they lost 1 game. They got to the Big Ten championship. They beat Ohio State. They got to the Rose Bowl. They beat Stanford. Those 2 wins, they were just so much fun. I think they were underdogs in both of them. 2014 season was fun, but it ended horribly when they got crushed by Alabama in the playoff.
Yeah, that was rough. That was really rough.
2013, you know, was the last year before the playoff, I believe. So now we're going to go to Michigan, Tim. 10 years. They've had a lot of coaches. They've had a lot of down years, a couple decent ones. What do you think was their biggest moment in those 10 years?
Probably hiring Harbaugh.
That's exactly
their biggest move was an off-season move.
That's exactly what I wrote. Yeah, I guess.
I mean, in Peppers 2 years ago.
Yeah, getting him.
You go playing 2 ways. Yeah, that was.
No, I wrote the same thing. I wrote the same thing. Maybe I guess the second thing would be firing Dave Brandon. He seemed like a terrible AD.
Did you know that Peppers is from New Jersey? Now you do. La la la.
Yeah, I put hiring Harbaugh. Exactly, Tim. And that just kind of shows what these last 10 years, you know, one team doing it on the field, one doing off. But, you know, if Michigan, this is the year right now, man. Right now is the year. They run the table. They'll be in the playoff, obviously.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, obviously. That's not even. So, we're going to dial back. We have 3 more matchups. We're in the semis now. We got North Carolina, because of my veto, versus New Hampshire. Who do you got?
New Hampshire.
Why?
I really can't deal with anything with the Carolines or Carols or Carolinas. So, I would say good day, sir. Good day.
If it wasn't New Jersey, would you have picked them?
Yeah, I would have picked New Jersey.
So New Hampshire, shockingly, is in the finals.
Yeah, Fisher Cats.
All right, let's go back to the main topic. We're talking Michigan State. We got a big matchup Saturday, 12 o'clock. You know, Tim, this is a sports podcast, but, I mean, I've listened to sports podcasts. We listen to sports shows, and they really get into detail about things. Who has the better running game? Who has the better alignment? That's boring, Tim. Tim, what's going on over there? You're making a lot of noise.
I'm thinking through movement. I'm very kinetic, sir.
You know, I pick up everything.
Yeah, well.
All right. You're quiet now. Listen, we're going to talk about coaches. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
So what makes Jim Harbaugh a great coach?
Well, Carl, I think this is a 3-parter. First, he's kind of nuts.
He's kind of nuts.
And I believe that his secret to success is eating steak and getting khakis at a great value.
Is that all you got?
Yeah, that's all I got. He's just nuts.
I like your approach, man. You're understanding the format of this show. Maybe I don't, because I'm serious here. He can get recruits from anywhere.
He will fly to a game on Friday night and fly back that night. Hell, he will stay in your room while you sleep. You know,
D'Antonio, he gets guys from the Midwest. It's not really... He doesn't really get guys nationally as much as Harbaugh. Few do. But I put that for Harbaugh because dude gets guys from Florida all the time.
He's got more game than Nintendo.
Hilarious. All right, so Mark D'Antonio, do you remember when John L. Smith ran this program? Good God.
You know I do.
What a dark time. So what makes D'Antonio a great coach? You could say a lot here. What do you got?
I think D'Antonio is like a supervillain who just kind of ruins seasons. Specifically those belonging to the Maize and the Blue.
Were you worried when Narduzzi left to go to Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so too.
It's funny. They searched someone at Pittsburgh University actually searched me on LinkedIn.
Really?
So yeah, that was crazy.
All right, so this is what D'Antonio does, because he pretty much only gets 2 and 3 star recruits, maybe a 4 every now and then. Le'Veon Bell, what do you think he was? 1 through 5 stars out of high school.
I'd say a 2.
2. Kirk Cousins, 1 through 5.
Probably a 3.
He was a 2. Con Cook.
2?
I know he hasn't had the NFL success, but he was dang good in college. He was a 3. So, I mean, listen,
He's like the Tom Izzo of college football.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the 3 guys. Those are my 3 favorite Spartans. I know those are cliche guys, but dude, Le'Veon Bell was a 2-star. Kirk Cousins a 2-star. Kirk Cousins is just crushing it, dude. He has the $84 million guaranteed, and we all know Le'Veon Bell, probably the best running back in the game. We'll see if he comes back. But listen, that's what he does. He coaches up players. Coach. That is the title. What does he do? He coaches up players. He's not just handed 5-star recruits like Nick Saban. Nick Saban's a good coach, but he gets a head start. You understand? He gets a head start.
I remember when Saban was at Michigan State, and those were good times.
Those were good times, but I mean, he never got to the Rose Bowl. Maybe he probably would have if he stayed longer. That's why I like D'Antonio. That's the obvious answer. Because, dude, he's a wizard. He's a magic man, Tim. Correct?
I was going to go with the D&D route joke, but I'm going to take the high road.
So, Tim, this hasn't happened a lot recently where Michigan comes into the game as the favorite or has more to lose. And there was a time in my life where I was rooting for both teams because I wasn't living in Michigan, and I just rooted for the team that had the better chance of getting further. Does that make sense?
No, I always went the opposite way.
So I was like, in 06, I was like huge Michigan fan, and then for the last few years, I was always rooting for Michigan State. And when I was living in Michigan, I couldn't do that. You have to pick a team. So I'm back in Virginia, and there's a part of me that's like, before last week, I was like, I want Michigan to win this because Michigan State looks like garbage. And then guess what they do? They beat Penn State out of nowhere. So now I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to root for Michigan State. And do I think they'll win? I think Michigan's going to squeak out a win, actually, by like 3 points. It's going to be a heartbreaker. Maybe a last-second field goal, 27-24, Michigan wins. Who do you have?
Well, I always go with the spread, and right now Michigan's giving Michigan State 7, so I will take +7 in Michigan State. Sparty shows up 1 game a year, and that's always against Michigan.
Yeah.
Even in the last 10 years, they've won 80% of the games, so...
You say they only step up against Michigan. They just stepped up against Penn State.
Well, they always step up against Michigan.
They do.
Always.
They do. Even that year in 2012 when they weren't that good, they lost by 2.
Yeah.
When they won 3 games in 2016, they lost by 9.
That was a year we all can forget. Kind of like the Rich Rod years.
All right, so we got a pretty big matchup here. New York versus Nevada.
Ooh, Area 51 versus the Big Apple. I'm going to have to go with New York.
Why?
Woodstock, all the major sports, pizza.
Yeah, I mean, New York's a powerhouse, too. They're a powerhouse in this matchup. I'm going to tell you right now, it's a Colony versus Colony finals. New Hampshire versus New York.
New York.
No, I haven't even... You're jumping ahead. Let me build up for it. It's the 4 seed versus the 2 seed. I pre-rank these. Just to let you know, New Jersey was the 8 seed. You bastard.
Classic.
So, yeah, all right, you kind of said it. New York is the champion. Congratulations. So, just out of curiosity, if it was New Jersey versus New York, who wins?
Well, my ethnic homeland is New York State, so...
Oh, they still would have won? All right. So I didn't ruin it. All right.
No, I was actually born an ethnic Dodgers fan. People don't know that.
All right, Tim. So that's episode 4. Did you enjoy yourself?
You know I did, Carl. Thank you for having me.
I've never done this before. Like, every single person who I've had on the podcast has taken over the throne of awesome. I just can't do it with you. I can't.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
No, don't say that. I want you back on. First off, the guy Harris, we were supposed to do a podcast at 9. At 8:47, he said he couldn't do it. So I scrambled.
That's a dick move, Carl.
I scrambled, and your first name is starts with a T. So you know how many people I asked before you, just because of the alphabet?
I'm going to say A through Z, Carl.
There's a lot of people. I finally got that T, and I said, all right, let's go, Tim. And you said yes. So, I mean, listen, I want you on again. More time. All right. You had no time to prepare. Your 60-second challenge was pretty decent, actually. It was an easier one because the script was written. But I kind of liked it, so Mike Bailey's going to stay in the Throne of Awesome. But that doesn't mean you can get back in. You can. Anyways, Tim, any last words? Anything you want to plug?
Oh! Yeah, I think I'm good.
All right, so for Tim Anderson, I'm Carl Coffey. We'll talk to you next time on episode 5. See ya!
Give me a freaking cup of coffee.